To start, what's the first impressions you got when looking at this one?
Okay, how wild do you want me to be?
Have we just been in contact with the guard of Morton Castle?
It's like somebody's crying.
Strong
Oh, wow.
response.
Okay.
Are you a former owner, former laird of the castle?
That's like the road coming in.
All evening I've heard like male voices in a hushed tone, either up in that corner or down in the corner here.
Two energies in there.
In that corner, yes.
Okay. What was that?
Nestled on a triangular headland overlooking the serene waters of Morton Loch, Morton Castle in Dumfries and Galloway stands as a lonely witness to centuries of Scotland's turbulent history. Built in the 12th century and later fortified by Thomas Randolph, this once mighty fortress now lies in ruins, but haunted by the ghosts of its past. Today we embark on a journey not only through the historical legacy, but into the mysteries that linger within these ancient foundations. Morton Castle has long been a place of mystery, with reports of unexplained sound, whispers, and ghostly apparitions. My previous visits have yielded compelling evidence. Two distinct EVPs, one a stern Peter captured on a Sony ST25, and a chilling Get Out recorded on the DR60.
Okay, so the first thing we've got SD25, the Sony, down at the part where we always feel like there's something there. We have the name Peter coming through, potentially. We'll need to analyse it, but what a start before we even properly get going here. So, who's Peter? Peter. Peter. Says Peter. Peter. See, the castle and the lands here have a deep history. And where we tend to find a deep history, we tend to find mystery. It was away back in the 12th century that Donegal, the Lord of Nithdale, had a strongholds here. By the 13th century, a more substantial castle stood on these very lands. We know this because in 1307, these lands were in the hands of Thomas Randolph, who would later become the first Earl of Moray. However, the original castle didn't last. In 1357, the Treaty of Berwick, an agreement between the English and the Scots, called for it to be dismantled.
This day will be ours!
But that wasn't the end of Morton Castle, because in the 15th century it was rebuilt as a hall-type castle, and then came into the hands of the powerful Douglas family. This is where the story takes a dramatic turn.
In the early 16th century, the powerful Douglas family extended their influence into Morton. Yet despite their power, Morton Castle wasn't their main residence. It was more of a strategic outpost in their vast domain. However, that changed in 1544 when Patrick Douglas, a young son of Sir James Douglas of Drumlanrig, secured the castle as part of a marriage contract. Patrick and his wife made Morton their home. Fast forward to 1581 and the Douglas name is once again at the centre of a storm. James Douglas, the 4th Earl of Morton, was executed for his involvement in the murder of Lord Darnley, none other than the father of King James VI. With his death, Morton Castle and his lands were passed down not to another Douglas, but to his nephew John, the 8th Lord Maxwell of Calaverick, tying the fate of Morton to the powerful and ambitious Maxwell family. By 1588, the political landscape had grown even more treacherous. John Maxwell, now the 5th Earl of Morton, was caught plotting with Spain to invade England through Scotland, a bold and dangerous move during a time of intense religious and political conflict. King James VI, seeking to crush this rebellion and send a message, launched a brutal campaign against the Maxwells. Morton Castle was targeted. The castle was burned down, marking an end of an era for Morton. I make my way back to the van to gather some equipment before setting up for the investigation ahead. The main key here is to look at the environment, see what we can record through our devices, then attempt some spirit communication. In order to gain some answers, I would need to set up some basic equipment in the hope of finding out what is really happening at
Morton Castle. I'm going to place this EDI Plus over here. I just want to see if I get anything at all through the sensors on here, anything to do with the environment of Morton Castle. And this area, the corridor, is the place where everybody hears things, senses things. So the EDI will look at temperature, pressure, humidity, vibrations, and electromagnetic energy. Another piece of equipment, if we're dealing with footsteps and some movement inside the corridor, is to use one of these footstep trackers. A footstep tracker will just tell us if there's an event, if there's a movement of some sort there. That in combination with the geophone inside the EDI, which measures vibration, will let us know if movement really does occur in this corridor. We set these up in various places just as an indicator that something may be going on, and then we combine that with other tools we have, whether we try some EVP work, whether we use EDI Plus, the footstep trackers, or how we feel and see and sense while we're here.
As the storm clouds gathered overhead, I picked up my colleague Greg Stewart, a fellow paranormal and historical researcher. Together we ventured down the long, winding country road leading to Morton Castle. The rain lashed against the windows and the wind howled through the trees as if the very land itself was warning us of what was to come. Before stepping out into the storm, we decided to connect with our spiritual medium, Lee Dunn, via video call. From the safety of the van, we asked Lee to use his unique blends of intuitive abilities and remote viewing to peer into the past and sense the present energies of the castle.
Okay, Lee, so we are up at Morton Castle just now, and you have been seeing what you could do remotely with regards to this location. Have you had any success with this one?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, trying to do this remotely? So there's a couple of things that I'll say. I've obviously seen some of the lives that you've done. I've not been physically in the location before, not in the location at the moment, and I've looked at a couple of photographs as well, just to see what I can pick up. What I will say first and foremost, as I have done that, I'm doing it live as I am speaking to you now, but also I have done this before going to bed and then sleeping on it and meditating on it as well to see if I'm given additional information. And I am given some information. Whether it's relevant or not is another question.
Okay. So give us a start. What's the first impressions you got when looking at this one?
Okay. How wild do you want me to be with my first impressions? I can be wild.
Go wild. Give us it all.
Yeah, so I'll give you my very first impression. My first impressions is a little bit like Lord of the Rings. So I'll explain what I mean by that. In Lord of the Rings, in one of the films anyway, I don't know which one, there is a scene, if you like, of people coming together from lots of different locations to form an army to fight a battle. And when that happens, I have the impression of people scanning the horizon, looking towards the distance for people moving, and that's the kind of impression I get when I think about Morton Castle. So cutting beneath the Lord of the Rings analogy, what I'm really talking about here is that sense of people coming together from multiple locations, horizon scanning, looking into the distance, a feeling of anticipation as if something is going to happen. That's the first impression that I get.
I mean, Greg, that's amazing, because on a historical point of view, this castle was sieged.
Yeah, it was sieged a couple of times, but the first thing that I'm thinking about from what you're saying there, Lee, is that the castle was burnt or destroyed in the orders of King James VI.
Yeah.
During the religious wars. Now, because the laird at the time was a Catholic, is this what you're seeing? Could this be part of the Reformation, where the Catholics were forced to? They came to remote places like this to worship because they weren't allowed. They were forced out of their churches, so the ministers would deliver their services remotely in hillside locations, or if the laird here was favourable to them, he may have allowed them to gather here. So this could be this group of people coming together in anticipation.
Does that make sense to what you've been seeing, Lee?
Yeah, that definitely does make sense. And that feel of anticipation, you can almost describe that as like for want of a better way of putting it, it's like a watchtower is the way that I would put it. And I think this is the Lord of the Rings analogy that I'm trying to make.
Any people at all when you've remotely looked at the location?
Yeah, and this is interesting, and it's like many castle locations that we investigate. There are multiple layers at play. I think that most of what I'm seeing is old, and by old I'm going probably 1700s, if not a little bit earlier. I don't tend to get quite so much a bit later on, so certainly not after that time frame. Probably the most of what I get is 16th century or thereabouts. Okay. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm like, I'm not very good at picking out specific dates based on the dress wear.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, just sorry to interrupt, Lee, but the castle, I believe, and you may be able to confirm, was 1715 it was destroyed.
Which is why you wouldn't get
So
anything.
you can't get anything beyond
Beyond that.
1700s. It was destroyed in the first part of the 18th century. There,
That would fit.
1700s. So
That would be why you've got a blank then.
yep.
That's interesting.
That's quite
Yeah,
interesting.
that would make sense, because the way that I would tend to look at time frames, especially if I'm doing remote work, is I would go through, for example, 14th century, 15th century, 16th century, and see what I can get from each of those. And when I go beyond the 1700s, so when I'm looking into 19th century and so forth, it's like nothing is there. I don't get shown anything at all. It's all predating that. On specific characters, so when I'm remotely connecting, I'm not communicating with spirit as I would be on location. So it's more of an impression of spirit, more so than anything else. I have the impression of some very strong male energy around, but not only male, I get female as well. Don't get the impression of any children. Doesn't mean to say that there are none there. I'm just not seeing them through my remote work. Of the males, I think that there's probably like a Dave or a David name, which is quite significant. So that comes to me quite a bit. Don't get any other names other than that name. And I would suspect of any potential characters that are haunting, and intelligently haunting that is, there's probably one or two in that space. There's definitely more than one, because I have the impression of being crowded as if spirit is around me. And so that's more than one. But I don't think we're talking about 10, 15, 20 energies there. I would suspect probably 2, maybe 3 different energies in particular.
It was time to go into the castle and see if the spirits would make themselves known. We do this by doing 3 sessions over 3 days. Session 1 in dark conditions, Session 2 before sun sets, and Session 3 during the daytime. Here is what happens.
Louise, are you picking up anything at all?
All evening I've heard like male voices in a hushed tone, either up in that corner or down in the corner here. And there is a K2 and a cart ball down there, and that did go off earlier on. Nobody was there.
Got it. Okay, someone over there? Can you stop it now then? Interesting. K2 behind me is going as well. Okay. Right, we got that. Nice start. Sorry, Louise. And it's just at the same time as you're talking about the activity.
Well, when Tracy and I were here earlier, we noticed that it was either down that bottom corner or in the diagonal corner there. And then it's strange how I'm speaking about this corner down here and it kicks off in that diagonal corner. But when we had a walk around, I was given the initial L. So that would be interesting to see
if we get anything through.
And also, when Tracy and I were standing maybe about in the middle, we had heard voices previously, but then I heard Tracy's name getting said, and it came from up that corner.
Right. Okay, so I think we've got somebody here. I'm going to ask a question again. I'll try and keep my hand. Actually, I'm going to put it on the wall here. Okay, so I've pushed record. I'm going to stand back. Can you tell us who you are? Are we welcome here tonight? Okay, let's see if we've got anything.
Something in the environment was breaking the emitted field on our device. Not once, but several times. A clear indication at the corridor door.
Okay, it sounded like somebody was trying to shout. What's your name? Unbelievable. Okay, turning that off. Thank you.
It's like when the attention's taken away from them,
Yeah.
that's when they bring it back to themselves.
What's your connection to the castle? Okay, we have nothing that's going to set this off. We don't have any two-way radios, we don't have equipment that should be affecting this at all. There we go. Still going. I wonder if, can I zoom in to show people what one it is? So let me zoom in. You're hearing talking down there. That's a report from here. Okay. So if I put my finger in here, it's this one here.
Well, there's two energies in there now.
Two energies in there.
In that corner, yes.
Okay.
What?
What was that? It's like a cracking noise above your head there. I heard it.
And there's no any birds or anything.
There we go again.
It was time to see if we could get any communication from our ITC audio research devices, and we were not to be let down.
Can you make a loud noise to let us know exactly where you are?
What did you hear up there?
It sounded like a woman going.
Right, okay. Tracy.
Tell me your name.
The term "you should ken it" in reply to Tracy asking for the name simply means you should know it. It's local dialect and certainly would be something that somebody who knew Tracy and the area she come from would potentially say as a reply. This again is amazing pieces of evidence that spirit was there, whether connected to the castle or connected to the people who were with us. Who are we speaking to? Who are you speaking to? Is this Pete?
It's a prison pit.
Sounds like somebody crying.
Joseph, were you ever put in the prison pit?
It's like somebody's crying. Can like sobbing. Clearly after Samantha asks about the prison, you could hear somebody repeat back the word prison to her, and then what sounds like a sobbing female. Could this be the female who walks Morton Castle?
It's just been quite active right from the start. The voices and then just sensing that they were in that corner, then they were in that corner, so that's continued throughout the whole of the evening. It's been more active up this end, and then letting us know when I thought that there was two spirits there, and then them saying and confirming that there was two, but then making us sort of go down that end.
Yeah.
Due to the amazing results John was getting with the ST25 on the previous night, we asked him to do a session across at the corridor, at least one question to see who was there. While conducting this, he didn't get anything at all. But at the same time, Tracy was also recording the same question, the same environment, and this is what she got.
Did you record at the same time there? Right, okay. Guard. Bring that back. That's guard.
This is compelling evidence. Have we just been in contact with the guard of Morton Castle? Consider this, we've had other recorders recording at the exact same time, yet only the recorder that Tracy was using has an embedded voice telling us they are the guard.
Would there be a guard standing there to guard for the laird? So this would go up to the laird's room, folks, just to give you some context to this.
And then things take a twist, because another capture on the SD25 clearly says the Brits are coming. Could this be a signal that they were watching out for some sort of attack?
Did you guard the laird of the castle?
The use of the word Brit does go back and was first used at the end of the 13th century and then coming forward. So it certainly would be a term that would be used in Scotland. The strength of the activity and the clarity of audio captures had me deep in thought about the source of paranormal activity at Morton. Could it be ley lines and land? So in checking the old maps, going back to 1852, around about the 1900s on this one, we can see very, very clearly that Morton Loch and the ruins of Morton Castle are listed there. And we can see some of the areas around about, because we're speaking about energetic lands, and it's not far from there. We've got places like the 12 Apostles, Hollywoods, we've got Friars Carse. These are all pretty religious, spiritual type areas that go back, and Morton Castle is not far from there. What is it about this area? What is it about this area here and the activity levels and the amounts of abbeys and churches, and why did our ancestors build so many standing stones and things around here too? Does it all relate into Morton Castle and places like this and why they can be so active? I would need to go back for a third time, but with Greg, so we could get his insight into the activity at the castle.
Interesting, because one of the things I wondered when we talked about just when we walked up here, first of all, is this where the original castle was, and you know, it's quite a remote location for a castle. So, and I noticed the hill that has been noticed previously. You'd said that. So, is there something in the land here?
I'm starting to. I don't know what people think as well, but let's talk about that. I'm starting to think there's land energies like ley line type stuff, maybe going back to the Druze or ancestors.
What one of the things I'm going to be hopefully at some point doing is I want to get a map of this area with all the stone circles pinpointed in it and start drawing the straight lines in between them.
Yeah.
See if they are actually connected on a direct line. There's another couple of locations that we've been looking at that I'm really wondering if these lines continue down to cross. You probably know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Do they hit? Is this an energy source coming down to other areas within the county?
It just makes it so much more interesting, because I really believe some of these places, stone circles, ley lines and things, have got a higher level of paranormal activity, and I'm just wondering if it's like a thin place between this and another dimension, if you want to call it that, or another spirit world, or whatever you want to call it. Briefly explain the yes no box, what we're going to do with this.
It's an EMF meter, same as K2 and things like that. It's got 3 different ranges of EMF it scans through. On the mode it's in just now, it's called communication mode, so what you'll hear, you probably won't hear it because of the weather, but we can hear it audibly scanning, so it's making this noise that scans through the electromagnetic fields looking for a disturbance within it. When there is a disturbance, it'll fall silent, and when it's silent we can ask questions. We always go for once for yes, twice for no. Okay, we've got a connection. Do we have a male spirit with us? Once for yes, twice for no. Strong.
Oh wow.
Response.
Okay.
Are you a former owner, former laird of the castle? Strong yes again. Are you connected to the Douglases?
Yes.
Were you in the castle at the point it was destroyed? Oh, strong. Yes. Did you die in the castle?
Oh.
I think that's yes.
Okay.
Is this why you return?
Is that no?
Yeah.
Are you stuck here?
Yep. Are you stuck here? No. Is this just a place of significance in your life that you come to visit?
Disconnected at that question.
That was incredibly strong. I mean, the device will show you how strong the response is. Every single one was a really strong. Now that goes into a lot of the lives you've been doing, but you get quite shouty answers and things like that. It seems to be every time you investigate here that, particularly the DR60, you get really shouty answers. So, you know, it's like a very forceful answer.
What else do you want to try? I'm trying to think of things that we've not used already.
I would like to try Seer, if I'm being totally honest, but only if we may really struggle to get a signal.
Right, let's try it. I'm just going to place that there. We're looking for ITC images to come through here. Spirit to manipulate the image and come forward and actually to show us something. So if you're there, if the laird's there, if the lady, if it's Elizabeth is there, can you come forward and can you do something to that device, this thing here, and show yourself?
There's like a wee door.
What is
ghost
that?
in the doorway.
Is that a ghost in the doorway?
And we're standing at the doorway.
A ghost in the doorway. Come on.
That's pretty good. That's somebody messing with us.
Come on. Thank you, if you did that. Trees. It's like the road coming in. Oh, that's like the road coming in. It's like a white light.
Yes, because there's quite a lot of parts where the road,
Yeah,
the trees have actually grown over. Like
guys, I'll show you all. I've got some footage coming in. People who've been here. That's like the road coming in.
Yeah, well, as you know, it's my first visit to the castle, but I think that there's something quite special about it.
Yeah.
It's the land it's built on, whether it's the historical aspect of it. The problem is that there's so much history we don't know. We don't know who built the first castle. We don't know if this was the site of the first castle. It's believed the first castle was destroyed about 100 years after it was built, but it's not certain. It's not really until the Bruces, the Douglases took the castle, that there's kind of written records about it. So there's so many unanswered questions about it. Is it on the site of the previous castle? Did the stones come from the previous castle? If it's not the site of the previous castle, where is the previous castle?
Yeah, exactly.
That would be really interesting, to go to that, which unfortunately we're never ever going to find out. But there's something fueling what's happening here.
We've spent a great deal of time conducting various experimentation, trying new techniques, trying experimental techniques, and hopefully speaking to the spirits of the castle. Some of the strongest evidence we've had has come through the audio at this castle. We've all heard things, experienced things, felt as if we've been watched even while wandering during the daytime. Do we believe Morton Castle to be haunted? I think the evidence speaks for itself.
How many spirits are at the castle? And is there a female spirit here?